Hello and welcome to the fourth tutorial on databases using LibreOffice Base. This one is on queries. Queries are an indispensable tool in database software. This is how you search the database. This is an object that you can create which allows you to take a cross-section of all of your data. And you actually have quite a bit of sophisticated control. We're not going to dive too deep into queries because queries gets really deep with links and joins and all sorts of crazy different ways of, of taking your data and manipulating it and searching it based on all kinds of different criteria. We're actually going to take a fairly simple approach. We're not going to go too crazy with this. We're going to create, I think, 4 queries, and then you guys are going to create a couple on your own. And they're all really quick. So I'm going to open up my database file that I have right here. Boom. And I'm going to move my tutorial off screen to another screen. Okay, so here we go. We have 3 tables, we have 3 forms, and we have 0 queries and 0 reports. So we're going to work on those queries right now. The first one, just to kind of dip our feet in the water of how we can take data from multiple different tables and search and sort them. Let's go into, so for forms, I like to use the wizard to create forms because there's so much formatting and stuff that goes on. I don't actually like to do that for queries. I like to do the design myself. So I use create query in design view when I do this. And so this is what'll come up. So this should look familiar from when we did the relationships. So we're just going to add all 3, artist, genre. So we're going to create a query that just shows basically every artist and every album without any IDs. So this is just going to look nice. There won't be any ID numbers, and it'll read a lot better. And it'll kind of show you how we match up albums with the foreign keys that represent the artists and their genres. So in the text version of the tutorial, it does actually ask you to use the genre. So here's what I do. So you can kind of move these around. This has no mechanical effect on how this works. I like to arrange them so that you can see the lines showing the branches to the foreign keys. So these are basically the sort of summaries of the database schemas using just their names. So let's say add, what we're going to do, how we're going to do this one. This one was going to be artists, albums, release year, and genre. Okay, so artist name. So if you double click it, it'll appear down here. And then we'll add album name, release year, and genre name. Notice I'm leaving the IDs alone. I'm not including those in this search or in this query. A query is a search. We should use the correct term though. So this is our database view. This is what it looks like translated into an SQL statement. You don't have to know what all this means, but I just want you to know that it's there. Use this little, this is the design view, this is that translated into SQL, which is kind of like a programming language. And then to run it, we just hit this little button up here, and then there it is. There's the result of our query. You can scroll down it, and it will show you every album with every artist. And if I hit A to Z, it'll sort them A to Z. And I have them all. You know what? I think I have this. I think I have you do this one twice. No, I don't. All right. Well, hang on. If it is, I'll delete it from the text tutorial, and then we'll fix it. Anyway, yeah. There's like this is actually kind of a collection of mine and my brother's vinyl. Most of it is his. About a third of it is mine. And actually about a third of it represents only like half of my collection. There's a bunch in the basement that haven't been added to this database yet, so maybe I should do that one of these days, because it is kind of an extensive collection of vinyl and much bigger than it has any right to be, since I don't really listen to records that often. Anyway, save it as artist query, and hit OK. And this will show you this is everything we need. So so that's one query. So this shows you how you can take a cross-section of data relating the various keys to the foreign keys to the actual primary keys of other tables, so that you could get this nice little neat table that just shows you information and hides all that weird ID complexity and gives you what you're kind of looking for. So the next one we want to do is that's great and all. It shows us how to build a correlation from the data with the 2 or more tables. So we want to make this maybe a little bit more interesting. Let's do something fun with it. So let's say we want to create a query. Again, let's use design view. It's open in the opposite screen, so I guess I have this. So I'll just add all 3 again, and then move this thing back on here. So this isn't a blank query. I've added all 3 tables, and I like to rearrange these. This time, let's say I want to find all of the albums that are by Bob Dylan. He's from Minnesota. We like people and things from Minnesota, so let's just do that. So we'll do artist name, since that's what we're trying to find. We need the artist name in order to search by an artist's name. Let's just take album name, release year, and might as well throw in genre for fun, although I think it'll all be the same for these. So what I want to do is, if I wanted to find just albums by a specific artist, I may have to learn what all this stuff down here means. So in particular, I'm looking for a criterion. So I want a criterion on artist name. So in this case, Bob Dylan. So you can type it in there like this, or you can type it in there in single quotes. If you just tab over to the next box, it'll automatically put the single quotes in, but you can do it manually. You put in the name of the artist in single quotes and run the query and see what happens. Look at this. It does the exact same query as the previous one, except this time it filters out only the ones with the phrase with the value Bob Dylan in the artist name field. So, and then we end up with just 3. And so this is how you can search for a specific one. So this is kind of neat. We're going to call this Dylan query. Might as well close it. Now, that's all well and good, but we would have to create a new query for every single artist if we wanted to do something like that. So let's try again. Let's do another one in design view, and we're going to add the same things: artists, albums, artists, genres, close, and I'll rearrange these, and do the exact same thing. Let's do artist name, album name, release year, genre name. Now let's try something a little bit more funky. In criterion, I want you to type : enter artist name. It doesn't actually matter what you type after the colon, just make sure that you put a colon and then something. What this does is it means when the query gets run, it is going to create a prompt for whoever's running it to enter some name. So inside of our criterion, we're not actually we don't have anything in particular, but we're going to leave it open-ended. So run it, and then here's the prompt. Parameter input. It says, well, let's try it. Led Zeppelin. Yeah, try a few search terms. Make sure this works. You can try Tupac. I think it just has the one. You can try T-Pain. I do actually have T-Pain on vinyl. I also have some John Lennon. Not much. There's a lot under the umbrella term various artists. Well, okay, that didn't pop up with anything. It seems to be working, though. Beethoven. There's something funky about the Beethoven entry. I think the Beethoven entry got kind of messed up when I put it in. I think there's a space after it, and it makes it hard to search on, which is unfortunate, but it's neither here nor there. So let's save this one as general artist query, or let's do like artist prompt query, and close it. So this allows you to do searches on various criterion, and you can do multiple criterion. You can do multiple with ors. I want, Bob Dylan or Led Zeppelin or whatever. You can get a whole bunch of different artists and then have it filter on all those terms, or you can do kind of a mishmash of different kinds of criterion. Like you can do something with the release year and get just all the albums by so and so that are greater than that are from 1990 or 1965 and newer, or something like that. You can do any sort of combination of different functions like that here. So that one's fun. Let's try another one. We'll close this one, and we're going to do another query in design view. This time, let's do something a little bit more complicated. Let's do something a little bit more fun. Let's do albums and artists. Just albums and artists. So what we want to do is get a query that does an actual calculation. It's going to list all of the artists in the artist table, and then release the number of albums associated with that artist in the other table. So all we need is artist name, and album ID, the primary key for album ID. So this is going to be the number of albums that are going to point back at artist ID. So my phone is ringing, and it looks like it is nothing. So here's how we do this. So artist name. So album ID is what we're going to do is we're going to use functions. So for album ID, we're going to count. We just want to count how many album IDs are associated with a particular artist. Now, if I try to run this, it's going to throw an error. It's going to say something that is absolutely inscrutable, not an aggregate function or group by clause. Yeah, okay. Thanks, base. Don't really understand that. I did some Googling because I didn't understand it. I was getting the same error. What it means is, and this is a quirk of the underlying database language called SQL. Anytime you're doing a calculated function like a count, anytime you're trying to aggregate some data, everything else needs to be grouped or inside of a group clause. So all you have to do to fix this is just under artist name, have the group function. And then when you run it, you'll get this pretty cool table, which shows the number of albums that are listed under each individual artist, which is pretty slick. And we'll call this album count. Okay. And that's it. That is it for that. What I'd like you to do in the tutorial is build at least 2 more queries. For at least one of them, you should use some sort of criteria to filter the results of running the query. And for another, think of using a count function, like this one. A little hint might be to do a genre count, number of albums by genre. See if you can figure out how to do those, and submit that to Canvas as normal. And we'll see you in the next tutorial, which will be on report. I was wrong. I'm going to show you. I'm gonna have this up. I'm gonna upload this. So let's close this one. Let's make sure we save the database and close it. And once again, I'll have my folder here with the file, and I'll have Canvas up here, and here's the assignment on Canvas. We'll hit submit and drag you down here, pop you in there, and submit it. And that's all it takes. We'll see you in the next tutorial.